Hello everyone. Welcome to Business School 101. 2 months into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the conflict has entered a new phase. The initial blitzkrieg, an attempt to take Kyiv and areas of the north with a lightning assault along main highways, has failed. Russian forces have withdrawn from the north, and now aim is to take territory in the east in a slower and more deliberate advance. But how much has this war cost Russia? To better answer this question, I will analyze it from 4 perspectives: military loss, economic sanctions, brain drain, and long-term impacts. Due to the controversy and sensitivity of this topic, this video will focus on events that have happened, rather than the opinions claimed by nationalists or political leaders from both sides. Section 1. Military loss. According to the U.S. intelligence, Russia's invasion force initially comprised approximately 120 battalion tactical groups, or BTGs. A BTG is a Russian battle group able to operate independently, a self-contained combined arms force with roughly 85 armored vehicles. This gives a base number of around 11,200 armored vehicles for the total invasion force. Regarding Russia's military loss, different parties provided significantly different numbers. A relatively reliable source in the conflict has been the outstanding open-source intelligence site Oryx, which has gained wide recognition for producing objective numbers based on uniquely identifying every single photograph of a destroyed, abandoned, or captured vehicle. By May 8, its current count stands at 625 tanks, 338 armored fighting vehicles, 684 infantry fighting vehicles, and 108 armored personnel carriers. Please keep in mind that this is only confirmed, photographed losses. So, it represents an absolute minimum baseline figure. Losses behind the front line are not included. Besides ground forces, Russia's Air Force and Navy have also been hit badly. Multiple sources reported that Russia has lost many advanced aircraft including Su-34 and Su-35 fighter jets, and one major warship, the Moskva, the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Therefore, Russia's total losses are likely to be somewhere between 20% to 25% of the entire attacking force. Besides tanks, jet fighters, and warships, the most important Russian military loss may be intangible. Russia's forces may be losing their will to fight. In the first few days, it might have been easy to persuade Russian soldiers that the war would be a walkover and that they would be greeted as liberators. After the offensive towards Kyiv was beaten back, it is clear that resistance is strong, and Russia will continue to take heavy casualties. A Russian Telegram channel has claimed that 60 paratroopers were dismissed for refusing to return to action. A special forces unit likewise reportedly refused to continue fighting after taking heavy casualties in Mariupol. While such reports are unconfirmed, a growing number of stories suggest Russian soldiers' willingness to fight is declining, and some prefer to sabotage their own vehicles than go into action. It is widely believed that given the depleted state of the invasion force, it is hard to see Russia's military force making major advances anytime soon. Section 2. Economic sanctions. Sanctions are penalties imposed by one country on another to stop it from acting aggressively or breaking international law. They are among the toughest actions nations can take, short of going to war. Western countries have introduced increasingly widespread sanctions which focus on 4 major types of targets: financial institutions, trade of natural resources, companies, and individuals. First, financial institutions. Russia's central bank assets have been frozen to stop it from using its $630 billion of foreign currency reserves. In addition, many Russian banks have been removed from the International Financial Messaging System, SWIFT. This will delay payments to Russia for energy exports. The United States has barred Russia from making debt payments using the $600 million it holds in U.S. banks, making it harder for Russia to repay its international loans. The UK has also excluded key Russian banks from the UK financial system, frozen the assets of all Russian banks, barred Russian firms from borrowing money, and placed limits on deposits Russians can make at UK banks. Second, trade of natural resources. In addition to the sanctions on financial institutions, Russia's international trade has also been largely disrupted. The US is banning all Russian oil and gas imports, and the UK will phase out Russian oil imports by the end of 2022. Germany has frozen plans for the opening of the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline from Russia. The EU has also said it will halt Russian coal imports by August. Please keep in mind that Russia relies heavily on revenues from oil and natural gas, which in 2021 made up 45% of Russia's federal budget. Third, companies. Under pressure from investors and consumers, many Western companies have started to unwind their investments, close stores, and pause sales in Russia. Here are some of the actions businesses have announced. In the consumer goods and retail industry, companies such as Uniqlo, IKEA, H&M and Adidas announced they have either suspended sales or ceased imports and exports in Russia. In the tech industry, companies including Nokia, Ericsson, Intel, LG, Google, Sony, Amazon, Apple, and many more have suspended at least part of their operations and services in Russia. In the manufacturing industry, companies including Tata, Renault, Caterpillar, Hitachi, and Toyota have paused manufacturing activities in Russia. According to a report from Yale School of Management, almost 1,000 companies have publicly announced they are voluntarily curtailing operations in Russia to some degree beyond the bare minimum legally required by international sanctions. Fourth, individuals. The US, EU, UK, and other countries have together already sanctioned more than 1,000 Russian individuals and businesses, including wealthy business leaders, so-called oligarchs, who are considered close to the Kremlin, including Chelsea FC owner Roman Abramovich. They also have sanctioned Russian government officials and their family members, including President Vladimir Putin's adult children and relatives of Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Assets belonging to President Putin and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov are being frozen in the US, EU, UK, and Canada. Section 3. Brain drain. Compared with military loss and economic sanctions, the brain drain could lead to an even more severe loss for Russia. By late March, a Russian tech industry trade group estimated that between 50,000 and 70,000 tech workers had left the country and that an additional 70,000 to 100,000 would soon follow. They are part of a much larger exodus of workers from Russia, but their departure could have an even more lasting impact on Russia's economy. Tech is a small part of the Russian economy compared with the energy and metals industries, but it has been growing rapidly. The loss of many young, educated, forward-looking people could have economic ramifications for years to come. Workers left the country because they objected to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, no longer wanted to live under the Putin regime, and feared they could not speak their minds if they remained. Working in tech, a comparatively lucrative industry, they had money to flee the country. And like other tech workers globally, they could continue their work from anywhere with a laptop and an internet connection. Section 4. Long-term impacts. Generous estimates suggest the Russian economy could shrink by 7% in 2022, instead of the 2% growth that was forecast before the invasion. Others say the drop could be as much as 15%. Long-term perspectives are dire. If sanctions are maintained, Russia will be cut off from its main trading partners apart from China and Belarus. Rating agencies now predict Russia will soon be unable to pay back its creditors, again with colossal long-term impacts on the economy. Its reputation as a disreputable borrower will make it hard to attract foreign investments without massive guarantees, potentially making it entirely dependent on China. The economic scenario looks even worse if Putin reaches a point where he claims victory in Ukraine. Occupying the country and installing a puppet government would surely involve taking responsibility for rebuilding destroyed infrastructure. And with Ukrainian citizens increasingly pro-European, maintaining peace in such a hostile environment would force Putin to divert a huge amount of resources from the Russian budget. To get a sense of what that would involve, we can look at what has happened before. After two wars and the destruction of Grozny, Chechnya, between 1999 and 2000, Russia spends as much as $3.8 billion a year sustaining its regime in the country. Any decrease in monetary transfers would put Russia at risk of further insurgency, and Crimea costs Russia a comparable amount. Ukraine's population of around 40 million is around 40 times larger than Chechnya's, and 20 times that of the Crimean Peninsula. As the second largest country in Europe by area, it will be a very expensive place in which to sustain an occupation. In the coming weeks and months, whether the cost of war is too high for Putin will depend on two elements. Can the Russian military and defense industry survive without technological imports such as electronics and industrial robots from the West? And will the impact of sanctions and casualties be sufficient to shift public opinion in a way that threatens the Kremlin? Essentially, when a nation is ruled by a dictator, the loss will only matter if he cares about the long-term impact of the war on his fellow citizens. So, what do you think about Russia's loss in the war with Ukraine? Please leave your thoughts in a comment below. On this channel, we strive to not only create videos related to business education, but also to cover hot topics regarding the modern international business as well as cultural and political environments. If you enjoyed this video, then please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.